Paizo has an image problem. Let me explain why. On August 8th, 2024, Jason Bullman, director of game design at Paizo Publishing, made a statement on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, about fascists shouldn't be welcome in our hobby. That much I can say I agree with. Fascists are just, we don't do that whole thing. Okay. But he also said that if J.D. Vance bought Pathfinder books, he needed to send them back. And there's where Paizo has its image problem, right there. I'm sorry, Jason Bullman, if you see this, which, we can't be doing that, man. It's bad for business, okay? And we've had another game company recently, Wizards of the Coast, who had another game designer, another head of game design, or whatever you want to call him, game architect, and he came from Paizo, ironically, but we had another game designer, lead game designer, talk about how old white men from the Midwest shouldn't be in the hobby, etc., etc. I'm sure Mr. Bullman meant well with his statement. But he made it on social media for the whole world to see. And he represents Paizo with that statement. Now, luckily for him, Paizo has stood behind him and stood behind the statement, and they stand behind their employees, which is great. But it's going to affect Paizo's bottom line. And here's why. People, Republicans especially, have money, and they spend that money on Pathfinder, Starfinder, and all the other miscellaneous tchotchkes that Pathfinder or Paizo puts out. If someone within the company goes on social media and alienates half of their fan base by calling them fascists, effectively, because Jason Bullman rolled back the original comment and replaced it with kind of a more generic comment about Republicans, which I'll put that screenshot up too if I can find it. It didn't help his case. In fact, I think it hurt it, but at least it wasn't as bad as the original statement. And I've had that up on the screen too, so you can kind of tell what I'm talking about. It's just, we can't be doing this, guys, because it's going to hurt the bottom line. It's going to hurt the, I forget how many, I think it's 100 and something employees at Paizo, because their sales are going to drop. We've already seen people trying to return their Pathfinder books, and Paizo putting out a statement saying, we just can't do that at this time, because while we stand by Jason Bullman's statement, and Jason Bullman being our employee, we stand by our employees, we just can't take your books back. That's not how that works. And unfortunately, that's not a good look for the company either. And it's going to affect their bottom line going forward. They've got a new Starfinder book coming out this year. This whole incident is probably going to cut into those sales by a lot. And this is not me trying to wish ill will on Paizo. God love them. I hope they do well. But we've definitely had issues because Paizo has employees to feed. And Mr. Bullman, while well-intentioned, gets a paycheck from Paizo. And as writers and publishers, we do not get to cherry pick who we sell to. We don't get to choose who buys our products. If Mr. Vance buys $240 worth of Pathfinder Core Remastered books and he props up his couch with them, good for him. If he plays with all of his Republican friends and Elon and President Trump and yeah, that's up to them. That's on them. That's their game. Hey, I buy Pathfinder books, or at least I did before they switched to Remastered Core. No shade on Remastered Core, it's just I don't have the $240 laying around right now. In fact, I'd be happy with $20 laying around right now. But the point being is, if J.D. Vance props up his couch with $240 worth of Pathfinder Core Remastered, which, you're spending $240 for something you could do with a cinder block, that's up to him. That's his business. He's already paid for it. He's gotten his money. You've gotten his money. Paizo's gotten his money. That money has been spent. And we don't get to say, I don't like your politics, give me your money, give me your books back. Give me your books back and I won't give you your money back. Which, God, I hope they don't go there, because that would be another disaster. They've been racking them up last couple of days, I tell you. When I'm on social media, I represent my brand, as much as some people don't like that term. I represent my brand, I represent my blog, I represent myself on YouTube, and I represent myself on social media as a writer, as a blogger, even as a YouTuber, for as long as that lasts. I have to be able to either stand behind my statements or retract them. And Mr. Bullman has put himself in what I would consider to be a very awkward spot, because he has spoken, and that reflects on Paizo. And that reflected, I think, personal opinion, I think it reflected poorly on Paizo. And it's, like I said before, it's gonna hurt their business going forward. It doesn't necessarily hurt the books they've already sold. Let's talk about the books they've already sold for just a second. During the great Dungeons & Dragons open game license debacle of 2023, I love saying that, where Hasbro Wizards of the Coast tried to roll back their open game license, they chased a lot of people off with that. Paizo made out like bandits. They really did, because they sold an entire warehouse full of their Pathfinder 2E core books, which at the time was just one big, huge, thick chunk of a core rule book, a game mastery guide, a bestiary, and then a player's handbook 2, which, good for them. They sold a ton of books. I remember hearing Luke Hart over on DM's Lair talking about he ordered like the entire set for Pathfinder 2 after the OGL debacle happened. I mean, great. Paizo's sales were through the roof at that point. It's almost like they were working, Hasbro and WotC and Paizo were working together to almost engineer this whole thing just to sell more books. And Kobold Press and Paizo and Alex Macris of Adventure Conqueror King and Troll Lord Games, all these other game companies made out like bandits off the OGL debacle, especially Paizo. Now, Paizo has re-released the 4 core books at $60 a piece, retail, MSRP. And, dear Lord, they blew it. With this whole Jason Bullman thing. And, oh, ouch. I feel bad for him. I feel bad for the employees at Paizo who didn't have anything to do with this, who are now probably going to be looking at lower sales, possibly layoffs or whatever, because about half the fan base that buys books, Republicans buy books, guys, it happens. I'm not one of them. I'm not a Republican, but people buy books. And, you know, now we've got this statement out there from a game designer, from a lead game designer at Paizo. And again, I'm not trying to throw shade on Mr. Bullman. I'm just saying that statement, that did not look good for the bottom line. I'm sorry. You know, I wish I had better things to say about that. Do I want people in the hobby who want to hurt members of my family, members of my friends, members of my community? No. No. I am not pro-fascism. I am not pro whatever in the heck is coming up the pipe here from the next administration in this country. But their money is as green as the one in my wallet, if I had money in my wallet. And we can't dictate to people, don't buy our product because you're whatever political affiliation, whatever religious affiliation, whatever. Because diversity, equity, and inclusion, that means everybody. That means the whole spectrum. Whether you're neurodiverse, you're BIPOC, you're LGBTQIA++, you're, you know, whoever. We all have the right to purchase Pathfinder, Starfinder, Starfinder 2E, Starfinder 2E Remastered, whatever they're working on. Hellfinder, I think I saw go by. We all have the right to purchase that stuff. Paizo, love you to pieces, but you can't dictate, we don't want this, that, and the other political party buying our books. Just like, you know, a smaller company can't go out and say, we don't want Democrats buying our books. And, you know, we don't want you wokies buying our books, which, that statement in and of itself just makes me cringe. You know, this whole issue with this one statement on social media goes deeper. And I mean far deeper than just Paizo Publishing, than just Pathfinder. It goes into freedom of speech. It goes into freedom of commerce. It dips into the whole DEI concept. We cannot, as writers, publishers, whatever, in the game industry, in the TTRPG industry, the tabletop role-playing game industry, we cannot cut off a section of our fan base, especially when you're a company as large as Paizo. I feel bad for Mr. Bullman. I agree with Mr. Bullman. I don't want fascists in my hobby either. I'm not claiming yay fascism, because I would never do that. I have tons of friends and family, both here physically and on the internet, whom could easily be the targets of fascism. If a game company, if we as free people start trying to dictate who can or cannot buy a product, or who can or cannot enter the TTRPG hobby because we don't like their politics or we don't agree with something, if we stoop to that level, we are just as bad as the people we say we're fighting against. And I know that's tough. Trust me, I've been around for several years. A lot. If we want to advocate for free speech, if we want to advocate for freedom of the press, if we want to advocate for free capitalism, as much as I know that probably makes some people cringe, we have to include everyone. And once that money is exchanged, once that book is in hand, they can do whatever they want with it. Right? Like, it's out of our reach, okay? And if a group of like-minded people, fascists, whatever, want to play D&D in their own isolated little group, let them. Meanwhile, feel free to gatekeep your own group. And that goes for everybody. I mean everybody. If you're not wanting certain people, make it very clear right up front. This is how my group is going to work. This is how my group is. These are how my friends are, or whoever's in your group. We accept X, Y, and Z. We do not accept this other thing. Whatever it is. Okay, and I know I'm speaking in generalities, but honest to God, every situation's a little different. Every group is a little different, and what you do in your group might be different than what I do in my group, or might not. It's up to you and your group. And I know I've said this 100 times, I know everybody else has said this 100 times. Do what works best for you and your group, right? Don't let some old guy on the internet tell you you're doing it wrong. Don't let some old guy on the internet tell you you have to return your Pathfinder books because you're a Republican or you're a Democrat or you're, I don't know, Flying Purple People Eater. Whatever it is. Everyone has a right to be included in the hobby. We don't get to cherry pick this person or this person, or you got the money, you buy the book, that's how it works. I have a personal theory that there is actually more going on with this Paizo debacle, and there is more going on with the Sly Flourish excerpt that's been kind of floating around the internet. You may be familiar with it, you may not. And I'll talk more about that in a future video, because honestly, I think there's more to this than what we're seeing. And I'll get into that later. Till then, feel free to look at my blog, jeffsgamebox.blog, and please support my friends, support the OGGM, help him get to 2001 subs by the end of the year 2025, help my friend Knigobi go as far as she freaking can with her channel. Links down below. Love both of them to pieces. They're great people. And regardless of whatever else is going on in the world, politically, culturally, socially, whatever, regardless of whatever's going on in the world, enjoy your games. Enjoy the people you're with. Embrace the fun. And I'll see you next time.